Breaking. Rishi Sunak just stormed back into Downing Street after senior Conservatives orchestrated a secret takeover plan against Keir Starmer. The stunning power play unfolded at 6:17 a.m. as black ministerial cars arrived with former cabinet ministers. Leaked documents reveal a constitutional mechanism never used in modern British history. And what happened next has fractured Labour's leadership beyond repair. The very foundation of British democracy hangs in the balance. If you want to witness how this unprecedented political earthquake reshapes Britain's future, hit that subscribe button right now, because the next 24 hours will determine who truly controls the country. Here's what sparked this extraordinary crisis. 3 days ago, 5 former Conservative cabinet ministers met secretly at Chequers, the Prime Minister's country residence. Sources close to the meeting reveal they discovered an obscure constitutional provision allowing the formation of an emergency government during times of national instability. The document in question, titled Constitutional Continuity Protocols, hadn't been invoked since 1974. But Starmer wasn't supposed to learn of this gathering. Downing Street insiders deliberately leaked it. The timing couldn't have been more devastating. The confrontation that followed shocked even hardened Westminster observers. At precisely 8:30 a.m., Rishi Sunak arrived at Buckingham Palace for an unscheduled audience with King Charles. Palace sources confirm the meeting lasted 47 minutes, extraordinarily long for an impromptu royal audience. When Sunak emerged, he made a statement that sent shockwaves through the political establishment. His Majesty has been briefed on serious concerns regarding governmental stability. As former Prime Minister, I have been asked to explore constitutional remedies available during this period of unprecedented turmoil. Within minutes, Keir Starmer's office issued a furious rebuttal. This transparent attempt to undermine a democratically elected government is nothing short of a bloodless coup. But Starmer's words rang hollow as his own cabinet began fracturing before the nation's eyes. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper refused to condemn Sunak's actions, telling Sky News, "Constitutional mechanisms exist for a reason. If they're being explored, we should understand why." Her carefully worded statement sent panic through Labour headquarters. Was this a signal that Cooper was defecting? Or worse, was she part of the plan from the beginning? By 10:45 a.m., Conservative MPs had formed a solid phalanx behind Sunak. Even those who once opposed him rallied to the cause. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, speaking from his Oxfordshire home, declared, "When the stability of the nation is at stake, political differences must be set aside." The message was clear. This wasn't just a Conservative manoeuvre. It was a cross-party intervention, justified by extraordinary circumstances. Political analysts called it the most audacious power play in modern British history. Meanwhile, ordinary British citizens who've sacrificed everything for stability watch in horror as their government implodes before their eyes. Harold Blackwell, a 75-year-old retired shipyard worker from Newcastle, stood outside Parliament in the pouring rain holding a hand-painted sign, "I survived the winter of discontent, but I won't survive another failed government." With trembling hands, he showed reporters his latest energy bill, £347 for a one-bedroom flat. "I fought for this country," he said, his voice breaking. "Now I can't even afford to heat my home. Someone needs to take control." Margaret Thornberry, a 8-year-old former NHS nurse, joined hundreds gathering in Parliament Square. "My pension is worth less each month," she told BBC reporters outside her modest council house in Salford. "I worked 42 years caring for others. Who's caring for us now? If Sunak can restore stability, let him try. Starmer has failed us completely." While these everyday Britons struggle with crushing inflation, Labour ministers enjoy unprecedented luxury. Sources reveal Starmer's office spent £214,000 refurbishing his Downing Street flat last year. Cabinet ministers received salary increases of 4.9% while telling ordinary workers to accept 2% in the national interest. The Foreign Secretary claimed £38,000 in expenses for entertainment while pensioners choose between heating and eating. The contrast is so stark, so morally bankrupt that even lifelong Labour supporters can't defend it anymore. A Survation poll released at 11:30 a.m. shows astonishing public support for intervention. 64% of respondents believe extraordinary measures may be justified given current economic circumstances. Support for Starmer has collapsed to just 27% approval, the lowest for any prime minister since polling began. Social media erupted with hashtags like number take back control and number enough is enough, trending nationwide. Videos of pensioners unable to afford food have been viewed 7.3 million times in just hours. One viral clip shows a 72-year-old former soldier ripping up his Labour membership card, declaring, "I've voted Labour since 1970. Never again." Then something unprecedented happened that transformed this crisis into a constitutional earthquake. King Charles took the extraordinary step of postponing his scheduled visit to Scotland. Palace officials released a carefully worded statement citing matters of state requiring His Majesty's attention in London. Royal experts immediately recognised the significance. The monarch only cancels official engagements in the most serious circumstances. His decision to remain at Buckingham Palace sends an unmistakable signal about the gravity of the situation. At 1:15 p.m., the King received the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Lord Chief Justice for what palace sources described as constitutional consultations. This historic meeting, bringing together the heads of church, judiciary and state, hasn't occurred outside a national emergency since World War II. Constitutional scholars call it the ultimate crisis mechanism when governmental stability is threatened. Professor Richard Harrington of Cambridge University's Department of Constitutional Law explained the significance. The monarchy serves as the ultimate guarantor of constitutional continuity. When the King convenes religious and judicial leadership, he's essentially activating emergency protocols established centuries ago but rarely invoked. Former Supreme Court President Baroness Hale described it as the constitutional equivalent of opening the emergency toolbox. International observers expressed growing concern about Britain's stability. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen issued a statement noting the United Kingdom remains a crucial partner and we watch developments with concern for British democratic institutions. French President Emmanuel Macron called for calm and constitutional resolution of political differences. Even the United States broke diplomatic protocol. Secretary of State Antony Blinken acknowledged monitoring the situation closely, while emphasizing America's enduring confidence in British democratic resilience. The cascade of consequences accelerated dramatically as financial markets responded with alarm. The pound sterling plummeted 4.7% against the dollar in the worst single-day drop since Brexit. The FTSE 100 suspended trading for 30 minutes after losing 600 points in the opening session. Investment banks issued emergency client advisories warning of unprecedented political instability affecting investment conditions. JP Morgan analysts upgraded their assessment of British political risk from moderate to severe, a classification typically reserved for emerging economies experiencing coup attempts. Inside Labour headquarters, all pretense of unity collapsed. By 2:30 p.m, Cabinet. Ministers openly split into factions. Chancellor Rachel Reeves was spotted entering Conservative Party headquarters, accompanied by her closest advisers. When confronted by journalists, she offered a devastating assessment. "My responsibility is to Britain's economic stability, not party loyalty. I will work with whoever can restore market confidence." Her statement sent Labour into freefall, with party officials describing absolute panic spreading through their ranks. WhatsApp groups of Labour MPs erupted with recriminations and blame. Messages leaked to journalists show at least 41 backbenchers discussing supporting a vote of no confidence in their own Prime Minister. One group titled Labour Survival saw senior figures openly debating whether to jump ship before it's too late. Parliamentary sources confirm formal letters requesting emergency meetings have flooded the office of the Labour Party chair. Foreign Secretary David Lammy was seen entering the American embassy for an unscheduled meeting, raising questions about international dimensions to the crisis. Defence Secretary John Healey convened senior military leaders at the Ministry of Defence, where staff described contingency planning discussions taking place behind closed doors. Security was visibly increased around key government buildings, with armed police deployed to Whitehall in unusually large numbers. The Conservative opposition moved with military precision. Shadow ministers appeared on every news channel with a coordinated message. This isn't about partisan advantage, it's about national salvation. Former Chancellor Jeremy Hunt outlined specific economic measures ready for immediate implementation. The markets responded positively to each announcement, strengthening Sunak's claim that only he could restore stability. legal experts began examining the constitutional implications. The Attorney General reportedly prepared a formal opinion on the legality of emergency government formation. Constitutional scholars pointed to historical precedents, including the national government formed during the 1931 financial crisis. King's Counsel Lord Panic noted, "The Constitution provides flexibility precisely for moments when conventional political arrangements prove inadequate to national challenges." Behind the famous black door of number 10, absolute chaos has erupted. Cabinet ministers no longer pretend to function as a team. Witnesses describe shouting matches echoing through historic corridors. One Downing Street staffer observed the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, screaming, "You've destroyed everything we worked for," as Starmer retreated into his private office. Security staff were positioned between ministers as tensions threatened to escalate beyond verbal confrontation. Starmer's inner circle has shrunk to just 4 loyal advisors. Multiple sources confirm he's refused calls from his own cabinet members. Chief Whip Alan Campbell reportedly told colleagues, "I can't guarantee a single vote anymore." The party is disintegrating in real time. Parliamentary private secretaries, the vital link between government and backbenches, are resigning hourly, with 7 departures confirmed by mid-afternoon. Meanwhile, at Conservative campaign headquarters, a war room operates with military efficiency. Former cabinet ministers have been assigned specific roles in a shadow government ready to assume power. WhatsApp groups with names like Operation Restoration and Day One protocols coordinate messaging across all Conservative MPs. One leaked message from party headquarters instructed, "Maximum discipline required. No triumphalism. This is about national interest, not party advantage." Sir Graham Brady, chairman of the powerful 1922 committee, issued a statement confirming Conservative MPs stand ready to support stability measures regardless of political cost. Former ministers who once opposed Sunak now rally behind him. Even Liz Truss, whose disastrous mini-budget triggered economic turmoil, publicly endorsed him as the only figure who can restore market confidence. The civil service, constitutionally neutral but practically vital, has begun preparation for potential transition. Cabinet Secretary Simon Case was photographed entering the back entrance of Conservative headquarters carrying what appeared to be briefing documents. Former civil service heads described this as unprecedented but potentially justified by the exceptional circumstances currently facing the nation. But here's the explosive revelation that changes everything about this unfolding crisis. Leaked Treasury documents show Britain is just 72 hours away from requiring emergency International Monetary Fund intervention. A confidential economic assessment prepared for the Chancellor but never published warns, current fiscal trajectory risks sovereign debt downgrade and potential market exclusion within 3 to 5 days absent dramatic intervention. This bombshell explains the extraordinary constitutional manoeuvres currently underway. If these documents are authentic, and 3 former Bank of England officials have verified their formatting and technical language, then Britain faces imminent financial catastrophe. The papers reveal the government has already held preliminary discussions with the IMF about emergency lending facilities. One memo, dated just yesterday, outlines potential conditions including significant public spending reductions and pension reform parameters. Multiple sources confirm Starmer's government concealed these warnings from Parliament and the public. A senior Treasury official resigned last week in protest, telling colleagues, "Ministers are deliberately hiding the true state of national finances." The Bank of England reportedly gave Downing Street a final warning on Tuesday that market confidence was at breaking point. The beta authorization chain for these secret IMF discussions leads directly to Downing Street. Minutes from an emergency economic committee meeting show the Prime Minister personally instructed officials to maintain absolute confidentiality regarding contingency planning. Civil servants were told to prepare ATAT documentation under the codename Operation Stable Bridge, now revealed as preparations for IMF intervention. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak is presenting himself as the only leader capable of averting national humiliation. While Labour dissolves into factional warfare, Sunak projects calm authority. At an emergency press conference held at 4:30 p.m, he struck precisely the right tone. This isn't about politics anymore. This is about preventing a catastrophe that would affect every family in Britain for a generation. His detailed 5-point economic stabilisation plan received immediate endorsement from leading economists and financial rounder institutions. The contrast couldn't be more stark. Labour ministers fleeing a sinking ship while Sunak assembles a team of experienced financial experts. Former Bank of England Governor Mark Carney was spotted entering Conservative headquarters, followed by several respected economic advisers. Markets responded immediately, with the pound recovering 1.2% against the dollar in late trading. For the first time in British political history, a former Prime Minister appears poised to return to power without an election. Constitutional experts confirm King Charles possesses authority to appoint a Prime Minister who can command parliamentary confidence. If enough Labour MPs defect or abstain, Sunak could survive a confidence vote within days. The latest YouGov poll shows astonishing public support. 58% of respondents now believe a national unity government led by Sunak represents the best hope for economic stability. Even among Labour voters, 41% would accept emergency measures if they protected pensions and prevented financial collapse. Former Labour voters are defecting in unprecedented numbers, with one focus group participant summarising, "I'd rather have competence than loyalty to a failing party." The next 24 hours will determine Britain's course for a generation. Constitutional experts outline 3 possible scenarios. Starmer resigns and recommends Sunak to the King. Parliament passes a no-confidence motion triggering an emergency government. Or King Charles exercises reserve powers to appoint a government of national unity. All 3 possibilities were unthinkable just days ago. Now they're being openly discussed in the corridors of Westminster. Public protests have erupted nationwide. Outside Parliament, thousands have gathered with signs reading "Save our pensions" and "No more lies." In Manchester, Birmingham and Glasgow, spontaneous demonstrations have formed in city centres. The mood isn't just angry, it's desperate. Citizens who once trusted the system now fear imminent economic collapse affecting their daily lives. Britain stands at the precipice of its most serious constitutional crisis since the abdication. The established order isn't just being challenged, it's potentially being replaced through extraordinary measures justified by economic emergency. At the centre stands Keir Starmer, a Prime Minister who appears increasingly isolated, defeated, and unable to prevent the disintegration of his government. Not since the national government of 1931 has Britain faced such fundamental questions about how power transitions during crisis. The decisions made in coming hours will reshape political norms for decades, establishing precedents about constitutional flexibility during economic emergency. History is being written before our eyes. So, here's the question that matters. Is this the end of Keir Starmer's government? Has Rishi Sunak orchestrated the most audacious political comeback in British history? Or has he stepped into a constitutional minefield that could damage democracy itself? And could Britain really be days away from IMF intervention that would surrender economic sovereignty to international oversight? What do you think? Is a non-electoral change of government justified during economic emergency? Or should Britain weather the storm with its current leadership regardless of consequences? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this constitutional crisis shocks you as much as it shocks us, share this video with everyone concerned about Britain's future. The mainstream media won't tell you the full implications of what's unfolding, but we will. Tomorrow, we'll reveal the complete contents of the leaked Treasury documents showing exactly how close Britain came to financial collapse. The truth is even more devastating than anyone realises.